Hello, everybody. Hi, I'm Jean Gianfagna. I'm your program chair, and it's my pleasure to introduce you today to our speaker, Larry Weber. Larry has had such a distinguished career, I'm going to take a moment to tell you about it. It's quite an impressive bio. Larry is a globally known expert on public relations and marketing. He's very passionate about the convergence of technology, the web, and communications, and he's a frequent speaker on the future of marketing, the social web, and building online communities. Larry enjoys helping global brands and emerging companies harness social media strategies to enhance their brand reputation, create and extend partnerships, and increase demand generation. Larry founded one of the industry's first interactive marketing agencies called Thunder House, and he's worked with world-class clients such as Coca-Cola, Pfizer, General Motors, IBM, General Mills, Siemens, and many, many more. In 1987, Larry started his own public relations company, the Weber Group. Within a decade, the Weber Group was the world's largest PR firm. In 1996, Interpublic Group of companies purchased the Weber Group. And in 2000, Larry became the chairman and CEO of Interpublic's Advanced Marketing Services Unit, a $3 billion unit with 12,000 employees. Today, Larry's the chairman of the W2 Group, a global marketing services ecosystem that helps CMOs in their new role as builders of communities and content aggregators. W2 group companies include the Digital Influence Group and RacePoint Group. They're leaders in social media marketing in both paid and unpaid media. Larry serves on a number of boards, and he's the co-founder and chairman of the board of the Massachusetts Innovation and Technology Exchange, MITx, which is the world's largest interactive advocacy organization. Larry's authored 5 business and marketing books, including Marketing to the Social Web, How Digital Customer Communities Build Your Business, which was a business bestseller, and it's actually one of the best business books I've ever read. His newest book, which was published just this month, is called The Digital Marketer, 10 New Skills You Must Learn to Stay Relevant and Customer-Centric, which Larry will be discussing with us today. Please join me in giving a warm AAF Cleveland welcome to Larry Weber.
Tony freaked out a little that I don't have slides, so you're going to have to listen to me. About 3 years ago, I decided I'm sick of PowerPoint, so I'm not going to use it anymore. It's great to be back in Cleveland. I actually love Cleveland very much. It's meant a lot to me and my family, so great to be here. It also has a great marketing heritage. If you younger people don't know, I remember coming back first, and the ad community here was really robust. The PR community was very robust, and there were early signs of some digital things, especially in the 90s. And now a lot of great video companies, like Goldfarb Weber as well. It's really great also to be here on, I think, the second day that the Webster's Dictionary is going to allow a number of new words for their new publication, including selfie, which was now an official defined word, including hashtag, which is now an official word in the Webster's Dictionary. So they have a whole other list if you want to go Google that. It's pretty interesting, some of the other words that were nominated for this. I usually like to start out by asking you all to be thinking about questions, because I'd like to answer a lot of questions. And the categories of the question, anything about the internet and the future of the web. I'm not Al Gore, but I was lucky enough to introduce HTML in 1993 for Tim Berners-Lee, now Sir Tim Berners-Lee, when he moved his work to the Lab for Computer Science at MIT from CERN in Switzerland. So, and the web, of course, has changed everything. I don't see how you could imagine getting up any day and not using the web. I mean, so it's become almost like a utility, I would assume. So those questions I can answer. Anything about agencies, which I think are going to have a tough time in the next 5 to 10 years unless they adapt. And we can talk about that. We can talk about corporate brands. where I see them going. We currently still work for companies like a lot of business to business. I know Cleveland's a business to business town in a lot of ways, so I'd love to answer questions about any business to business programs. We do work for IBM, General Electric, AT&T. I'm not going to answer any questions about AT&T buying DirecTV, though I'll have to recuse myself of that. And then anything about the future of marketing and technology as they converge, would love to answer any of those. And also anything about really the visualization of the marketing world and the world in general. So I also like to start these kinds of things with just a quick question. How many people have Googled today already? How many people have Googled more than 10 times? 20 times? Boy, you need a life. No, just kidding. How many people have checked LinkedIn today? How about Facebook? How about YouTube? A little less of YouTube, huh? That's interesting. How many people have tweeted today? Oh, good. You know. All right. How about Snapchat? No? Instagram? Anybody? All right. So this is a pretty hip crowd, huh? Kind of thing. So I like to tell a story before I get into what my fifth book's about, and you have to bear with this. This will sound egotistical, but after almost 35 years in marketing, I think I finally got it down. So this book is 90% of where marketing is and is going. I am without a doubt convinced. So, and all the royalties go to charity. So if you do buy it, that would be great. It goes to the oldest orphanage in America, founded by Abigail Adams, called the Home for Little Wanderers, which is in Boston. Anyway, I like to tell two stories. One is about being on Amazon for an hour and a half a few months ago. And how many of you have bought on Amazon in the last week? Last month? Almost everybody. All right. So tip one before I tell the story, the biggest fight for the heart and soul of the internet is going on right now with two companies. Probably don't even know that it's Google and Amazon. Those are the two that are going to control the future of the internet. So we can talk about that in a moment. The third is a company you probably haven't heard of called ARM, based in England, ARM. It's the integrated circuit in every one of your devices. So it's the Intel of today and tomorrow. Those are the three companies. Apple is not one of the companies. Apple's become a fashion company. They're becoming the Gucci of devices, and they'll try to hold that as the cost of smartphones comes down to $75 exactly 24 months from today, just about, is my guess. So, which was a good thing for the world, by the way, that would happen. The first story I like to tell about is why I was on Amazon for an hour and a half. So I got a permission-based email from Amazon. And everybody knows what a permission-based email is, right? A totally underutilized marketing technique. I cannot believe more companies don't use it. Once you do business with somebody, you do have a right to send them something. Just don't be annoying or obnoxious to them. How many use Constant Contact? MailChimp? Anybody? Great tools, right? All right, so that to me is permission-based email. All right, and if you're not using either of those, I would totally look at, and it's so cheap. Constant Contact can be as cheap as $40 a month, and MailChimp is basically free. So if you're not using those things, boy, all right, so especially to build your businesses. So I get this permission-based email, and it says to me, Mr. Weber, hi, we noticed that you like John Updike, a famous American writer who died a little bit ago, and here I am on Amazon. By the way, so far, all 5 stars, so don't ruin it if you write a review, okay? So I said, okay, and I don't know if anybody else does this, but I made a drink, I went into my study and I go on Amazon and I start watching videos of authors. All right, and so I watch all these John Updike ones and I watch a few others, and then I had been taught at Gilmore, and one of the writers I loved very much in one of Brother Ivo's classes was William Faulkner, an American writer from Mississippi. And he had won the Nobel Prize in 1949, and I didn't know that that was captured on video. And so just remember the name Faulkner. That's all you have to remember. I watched the Nobel Prize acceptance speech. Very cool, right? Then I go and I read reviews of my last book, and there was a really shitty review of it by somebody that lived in Taipei, and I was really mad. I wanted to go find the guy and give him his money back, and that didn't work. But anyway, and then I had just read a friend of mine, Malcolm Gladwell's new book about something about a dog, and I just wrote a bad review saying, how can you write The Tipping Point for the 5th time? And then I read a few more other reviews. I wrote one other review on Doris Kearns Goodwin, best book I've read in 10 years, by the way, Team of Rivals, just with unbelievable. Anyway, I wrote a review of that, and then I bought 11 books. But I looked at about 30 books. All right, so bought 11, went to different places, all that, finally checked out an hour and a half later. What had happened, all right? I was part of a community, right? I bought stuff, that's what they wanted. I shared in the community. I gave them data of things I didn't buy and things that I did buy. Amazon owns 75% of the cloud, hello, all right? So gave them all that. By the way, I'll answer anything about privacy since I think it's a silly discussion to have, but I'll answer any of that. And at the end of the day, I was very happy that I had that experience. A week later, I go on Amazon, and what's the first thing on my screen? $5 off the pre-order of the new William Faulkner biography. All right, lesson number 1, if you're going to stay in marketing, learn about software analytics. You don't have to be a software developer, all right? So I'm not here to scare, especially the older crowd of us that don't want to learn how to code at all. But you do have to understand this tsunami of analytics that's happening, not only in this country, but around the world, all right? And it's not about big data. If anybody keeps trying to sell you on the big data idea, just turn away, all right? It's about the collection of data, sure, and sensors are going to be collecting data that already is. So wearables, I wore my Google glasses for a day a few months ago. It was pretty funny, but it's sort of weird hitting your head every 30 seconds, you know. But we can talk about wearables if you'd like. I think that's, if there is one next big thing, it's probably wearables. So we can talk about that maybe in the Q&A kind of thing. But analytics, and analytics are to help you form what? Better digital environments. Our job as marketers are going to be to create digital environments that are attractive to go to. Does everybody here have a favorite store, physical store, or a physical restaurant, or a place they just feel good in, all right? Same thing is happening digitally. You want to have a place you go and you feel good in it. So if I'm an alumnus of a prep school in Gates Mills, Ohio, I want a place to go where I can talk to my other alumni and physically see them, all right? Watch the football game if they were that great in football this year, all right? That's the kind of thing. This stuff also doesn't have to cost a lot. Then I want to analyze, all right? We analyzed and used analytics software at a college I was on the board of for 10 years, Babson College in Boston. Once we put, they were hockey freaks in that school, and once we put hockey live from anywhere streaming in the world, you came to the Babson site to watch that. Guess what went up the next time we asked for money? 75%, all right? So people that were giving $100 were giving $225. And we could analyze it right back to them looking at streaming hockey video, all right? So now you start to look at analyzing what makes environments better, All right, and there's loads of software. All you have to do is Google analytic software, and you'll start to see the categories, the things that are happening. All right, but make sure, and in the book I go much deeper into this, make sure you understand how this is now a constant conversation with your customers and potential customers just to make these environments better. All right, so big data, no, but analytics, yes. So learning about that. The second thing you're probably hearing a lot about, and I go deeply into the book, is content and content creation. As I was growing up, the bait marketers had was the ad, the 30-second spot. Actually, back then it was a 60-second spot, which seems unbearable today when you think about sitting through a minute commercial, all right? But I like to also tell the story of my oldest daughter who's back living with us after graduating, saving some money. And I said to her, hey, you know what, why don't we watch one TV show together while you're living here, and let's pick one we both, might like. So we picked this Voice, the Voice, I guess the guy won last night, this guy, who was an SAT tutor, by the way, the guy that won. I don't know why he needs to sing, because those guys make so much money. But anyway, so we decided we would watch The Voice, and so I'll sit down and in our family room, and I'll just have one or two devices next to me, all right? I'm not looking at them, okay? So I'll have my iPad. By the way, I got rid of all my laptops 2 years ago, and I've survived. I have 3 iPads, and then my iPhone and my Galaxy, so that's what I use right now. And I'm trying to use all the voice stuff more and more, because I think that's another trend that will finally become real and be self-correcting. But anyway, to finish the story, Hannah then sits down at the end of the couch because she needs more room, because she's got her glass of wine and she has her laptop open doing some work. She's also shopping on Lulu. She's also on Facebook because Lulu allows you to show your friends the sundress before you buy it. Okay, stay with me here. While she's doing that, she's tweeting on her iPhone about what a stupid Judge Usher made a mistake, that what he's doing, so she's tweeting there. And then, get this, Lulu's sending her a text saying, if you buy a third sundress, we'll give it to you for half price if you use this code. All right, so Lulu knows that she's sitting there doing this right now. She's already bought 2. Before you check out, why not buy a third for half price? She goes, okay, let me show my friends first. She's doing that, and she's answering questions to me. And she looks so relaxed doing all this, all right? So, lesson from this is not only is the analytic world working, but what is working is this constant creation of content that's going to help you make decisions and move and change and share. And companies, especially business-to-business companies, I'll just switch a minute for you that are involved in business-to-business. We're creating proprietary content for them. An example would be, I use in the book for IBM, just for CIOs of healthcare companies. So content around the use of Oracle software, things that all of us probably don't care about, but they're things that those CIOs of healthcare companies do. And how do you keep a steady stream of 2-minute videos about that interesting to those people so that they keep coming back? All right, so content creation, agencies, companies are going to have whole departments that are just about constantly creating relevant content and aggregating content. You don't have to create it all yourself, right? You can aggregate from other places and do. Number 3, what you have to understand is that the IT world, how many of you understand, have IT departments still, or technology group, group? When I started my business in Cleveland, when I started working in business in Cleveland, for a guy named Harry Figge, and there were only 2 C titles. There were the CEO and the CFO. That was it. Those were the only 2 chief titles. And all of a sudden, before I left to move to Boston, they hired a chief operating officer. So I was curious that what a chief operating officer was, and I went and I got the job description of the new chief operating officer, and it looked like everything that the CEO and the CFO were supposed to do. But anyway, that was okay. And I moved to Boston, and all of a sudden, there were all these MIS people. Everybody know what that stands for? Oh God, everybody's young. Managers of Information Systems, and they screwed up everything so much that we had a new C title called CTOs, Chief Technical Officers. And then they screwed up things by buying so much software that we got CIOs to manage the software. All right. Then the 90s came where money was growing on trees, and we got all these bizarre chief titles like Chief Human Officer, all right, Chief Knowledge Officer. And by the way, we're getting a little of that today with Chief Customer Officer, or Chief Culture Officer, and a little bit. But the fastest growing title in America, especially, is the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer. And it used to be the average CMO stayed for only 18 months before they got fired, because the CEO didn't know what the CMO was supposed to do. All right? So anyway, a deduction about American business is when any category ever gets really screwed up, we just get a new C title, and you figure it out, all right? Well, what's happening now in the CMO is CMOs are starting to be asked to buy more and more software. Yet they have English degrees, they have, what did you get a degree in? History degree. What's your degree, Ron? Anybody a computer scientist here? We have one. Engineering degree? Anybody? See? None. So we're all going to be scared totally as we're asked to look and analyze to buy software to get us closer to our customers, right? And that is happening now every day, all right? So I can't tell you enough how much you should study at least the space. You don't have to be experts in it, but to know what's out there, because it's a new toolbox that you'll be able to use to do that. And what is happening to that old IT world is it's bifurcating. And I talk about this in the book. What that means is one group is going to infrastructure technology like security, energy management. The lights go on and off when you leave a room. That's all. That Nest, have you heard of Nest that Google bought? That you can turn the thermostat up with your iPhone before you get home and all that. That's infrastructure IT. I don't want anything to do with that. But then there is this softer, more customer-centric technology that CMOs are going to be overseeing and running. All right, and that's things like, if you haven't Googled them, look at companies, first-generation marketing automation companies like Marketo. We heard of Marketo? All right, Eloqua is another that Oracle just bought. HubSpot from Boston about inbound marketing. If you've seen, all right, that would be good. So, and I go deeply into that area that you should really look at. Next, an easier one is really understanding where social media is going in its second generation. All right, and I think Facebook's going to have a tough road to hoe. I'm wondering if it'll be around in 5 years. My 17-year-old son walked away from Facebook. Not that he was, didn't like it. It's just he and his friends don't use it. All right, so he's on Vine all the time, right? The 6-second videos. And they all laugh at each other. Maybe that's their age, obviously, but Snapchat and Vine. I think Instagram's hugely impactful. I think Instagram is one that you're going to have to really pay attention to. Facebook cannot move fast enough. They're using their cash to buy innovation, and whenever that starts to happen, companies have a hard time when they aren't innovating from within. So when you pay $19 billion for WhatsApp, everybody heard that, right? How many of you use WhatsApp? A few of you. How many employees do you think WhatsApp had when they got bought for $19 billion? 50, 52 employees. How many Facebook with their capital, number 5 most valuable company in the world right now? How many employees does Facebook have? 6,000. All right. So one big question for our politicians, this isn't in the book, is where are the jobs going to come from? If those are our most powerful companies, you know, where are the jobs going to come from? I don't have the answer. That's politicians are going to have to look at that. But what's happening to social media is we're going to see a rise. We already are in what I call closed, gated community social media. So these are places that are password only. Whether it be like a wine club, wine.com, or whether it be an alumni group where it's password only, but it's rich in that digital environment that you're wanting to go to. All right, so, you know, this is where Facebook is trying a little to micro-segment, but I'm telling you, on Facebook right now, you can find, if you're a podiatrist, you can find a group of podiatrists that specialize in the big toe. All right. And it's funny, but it's true. But that's what's happening in social media, is you're going to start to see these communities being built, all right, that are very, very, you know, focused. So that when you wake up on any given day, you'll probably have a daily routine of 8 or 9 communities that you want to be part of, whether it be Facebook, maybe you have cancer of a certain sort and you want to be part of, you know, cancer survivor community that you like. If you're really in Cleveland Indians or Browns freak, you know, if their site's really been cool or somebody's built a really cool destination, you'll probably want to belong to that one. Your school, maybe you belong to that one. Maybe that's a weekly one. So you're going to have sort of this sort of daily routines, weekly routines, monthly routines in sort of digital habits and digital direction. And companies are going to have to understand how to not control social media, but to how to use it to their benefit, and that it's not all broadcast. You have to pick your influencers, and that will be my next, or my 5th or 6th point. I'm not going to go through all 10. All right, you'll have to read the book. But the 2 most important things marketers today have got to do are 2 things I call mapping exercises. You've got to do what I call an influencer map. All right, for your, you know, whatever it's a product you're in charge of, a company brand you're in charge of, a school marketing you're in charge of. Who are the 50, 100, 25 most influential people to that reputation? All right, and you can do that through a lot of things, through Google, all right, through other different research analytic products that you can find. I mentioned in the book. But, you know, on any given day, there are 5 bloggers that are most important to your company. And you don't own those bloggers, though a lot of bloggers can be bought. And they have to say that, but they can be bought, and you can pay for it, just like paid media. All right, so making influencer maps is extremely important. That could be media, it could be a couple customers that are very important, that are listened to all the time about, you know, products and brands, et cetera, okay? So, and the other mapping exercise that you need to do is a constituency map. We do work for the largest health insurer, payor, Kaiser Permanente. I don't think they're here in Cleveland, are they, Kaiser? It's mostly, they are? Okay. But it's like 18 times the size of the Blue Cross Blue Shield kind of thing. And what they do is they really do great constituency mapping because they have such complex constituency. Think about it. There's different types of physicians, there's caregivers and nurses, there's the actual patients, there's government regulators, all right? I mean, you just keep going. There's about 10, 11, 12 constituencies that all want different types of information from Kaiser. So you had to set up a different type of publishing platform so that those constituencies can engage in the kind of information, stories, things that they want. So influencer mapping and constituency mapping, extremely important. I'll end with a couple things, you know, and then take all your questions. Search. We haven't talked a lot about search in the last few years, mostly because Google won, right? So it's hard to have a sort of intellectual discussion about where search is going. But how many of you have been on TripAdvisor? I think they were the pioneer in what I call social search. So I think as we start, and I still don't understand why Facebook's not doing more in social search, where, you know, you not just search for something, but you want your friends to comment, oh, don't stay at that hotel, or I would use JetBlue, or, you know, I would buy this sundress, or, you know, that kind of thing. And part of it is because how many of your bosses have ever said to you, how do we measure that? How do we measure this? We've got to measure all this stuff. Well, first of all, if it's digital, it is so much more measurable than non-digital, all right, because we follow everything that can be done. And second, we still don't have a nomenclature that is common like the ad guys did. How many watch Mad Men? Believe me, some of that was true in my 8 years in that place. But what I mean by you know, nomenclature for metrics is they had CPMs. They were great in creating, you know, names in the 60s and the 50s for measuring advertising, where we haven't done that yet in the digital age. But it is coming. You will see cost per engagement, which will include what engagement time is, because you want people to be more engaged. A share index is going to be really important. How many people shared that content with other people and how that went around. So we're coming to the point where you'll have that nomenclature so that when your boss says, can we measure it? Yes, we can measure, and how it led to a sale and how it comes, you know, to be. So I think search, you're going to see social search, and then you're going to see visual search, which is probably my last really big point, is that whether we like it or not, the world digitally is moving to complete visualization. If you want the best example of how a new web type of presence is going to look, I would look at the NBC News new design, all right? It's very simple. It's 2 columns if you're on an iPad or a laptop. It's only 1 column if you're on your mobile or your smartphone. And what it presents you with is video blocks. So you can press, you watch a video first, so video leads. Then if you want to dive deeper and read more of a text, you will go deeper into the text then after you do that. I say this because whether we like it or not, we are going to move to a world of visual literacy that is going to tell stories, all right, visually, that are more impactful than anything text can bring to us. So that changes the way we approach, right, our marketing and our communications and the way we build things. We don't need, you know, always artists or great video people, all right, to do these really great video things. We do need those sometimes, but what we need is people that can do quick, consistent, 2-minute kind of things and have them orderly done in the library. I think YouTube is going to come back, if they're smart, in a very big way and be the largest search engine, by the way, on the planet, but owned by Google, as we start to search visually for things. And I think, again, I can't say enough about visual impact. And then voice technology is close. The first voice recognition, believe it or not, is 40 years old. And it's still screwing up, all right? You know, but I think they're getting, Nuance is a company outside Boston that developed Siri, and I don't know why Siri's a woman, but anyway, and I think they're real close to perfecting the voice kind of stuff. And BMW is going to have the next generation Nuance in their next cars, where, you know, it will sense anything you want to do. So voice, extremely important. I'm a very optimistic person about digital and technologies and all this kind of integration of things. I think it's going to be a wonderful and amazing next 5-10 years. I also don't think there's going to be, one comforting thought for all this change is I predict there's not going to be a giant change again. So we're not going to see like a Facebook tsunami or a Google tsunami, you know, or an Amazon tsunami again. I think we're in a period much like I learned about the Renaissance, where there were all these new technical tools to create paintings and sculptures and, you know, a printing press to write books. I think we're in one of these settled down times where, of course, there's going to be some innovations like an Instagram that comes along, but really that just makes your photos look better, all right? So it's all, I think, incremental, the pieces that are going to be invented over the next few years, and it's a time to really decide what needs to go into the engine of this marketing so that we can close it for good, much like the engine of a car. there hasn't been lots of improvements, you know, and now you want the comfortable ride, you want the comfortable interior, you want to listen to good music, you want to talk to people, and it doesn't have to be a hassle. So I'm confident that if we all as marketers spend time learning about the new platforms and the new toolbox available, that it won't be a waste of time, because it'll be something that makes our careers richer and better, all right? And if you're all also about your careers, I would definitely keep your LinkedIn profiles up to speed and very relevant, and I would start including video in your LinkedIn profiles. And I think LinkedIn has its act together big time, finally. I was like the 10th person on there because a friend of one of the founders, and I hated it for the first 5 years because everybody just wanted a job, you know. And now it's finally turned into a better tool, I think, for professional development and using some things. So I hope it was okay not to have a PowerPoint. I don't know if there was any good tweets going on. I can't see with my glasses. And I'm not covering anywhere near what is in the book. Again, I think it's close to a bestseller from a digital point of view, because who's going to go browse on a Saturday for a digital marketing book in a bookstore? Though Barnes & Noble did buy a lot of them. But so I would, and the good thing about the digital version of the book, which is only $9.99, I mean, geez, is that the person that helped me with this, and I put Lisa's name on the book because she's worked so hard with me on the last 3 books, is she put a whole links to networks under each category. So you don't even have to learn where to go for the software analytic part, or the marketing automation part, or the content creation part. There are links to at least 10 to 12 different resources and places to go to learn about everything. So for $10, you're able to actually, you know, have sort of a little primer on all these kinds of things. So glad to answer any and all questions. Again, the web, marketing, agencies, technology, brands. You know, I guess I'll say one last thing as you think about your question. I remember doing a lot of work over the years with General Motors, and Rick Wagner, who of course was President Obama's sort of poster child of how not to run a car company, though it wasn't Rick's fault. He had, you know, those healthcare costs around his neck. But Rick used to carry an index card in his left pocket all the time. And I finally said to him, you know, because he would look at it now and then when we'd be traveling, and I said, what's on this index card? Is that like notes before you go and speak to somebody? He goes, no. See, on this, he had 2 actually cards. On this one, it was the 25 largest companies from 1900 to 1925 in America. And then on the back of it, it was the largest 25 companies in America from 1925 to 1950. Then on the other card, he had the largest 25 companies in America from 1950 to 1975, and on the last one, this was back in the early 2000s, the last time I saw it, was the largest companies from 1975 to the year 2000. And guess what? There were only 2 companies that stayed on for 100 years, and they were General Motors and General Electric. And so Edison and, you know, and Sloan. So, and who knows if those 2 will be around, you know, if he had a 2000 to 225 kind of thing. So anyway, reinvention's a great thing. Yes?
Larry,
say who you are, where you're from.
I am Lisa Zone. I'm from Dixon Eaton, but I'm also
Dixon Eaton.
Yes.
One of the great American marketers, Henry Eaton. He was
Yes.
terrific, man.
He
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
I am asking a question on behalf of the AAF Twitter account, though. This question came from @Mitten, and his question was, what are your thoughts on the impact of changes in net neutrality on business and innovation?
Yeah. I was always pretty left in my leaning until I owned my own business, and I sort of got a little Republican on a few things, believe it or not, but those were more fiscal and not. And I'm lucky to be a good friend with a guy named Senator Ed Markey, who also knows my dad, and is probably the foremost authority in the Senate or in the House on net neutrality and on the future of the web. I am a big believer, and then I'll talk about the impact, that I think the web should be free. So I think it's like water. It should be accessed, and especially for the bottom billion in the world, to not have access to networks in this day and age is going to keep you down, not let you rise. So there's a whole morality about net neutrality that I don't think is coming into the discussion yet. A little bit the New York Times, a little bit the Wall Street Journal, but the morality of net neutrality is extremely important to consider. Obviously, there's going to, what marketers will do, and AT&T is doing, is there'll be a premium internet that you will pay for, right? So it's going to be faster, and you're going to have instant content, and every show of I Love Lucy right there, right now, kind of thing. So that will always be, much like Apple will still sell a $400 smartphone even when you can get all those same features for $75, okay? So I believe in that. I think the government will stay with some kind of, again, U.S. Running of the web, and also some kind of really extreme net neutrality that keeps the price low and accessible and fast. And I think it's just going to be a common right to do that. And the impact on business is, I think it's great for business, because use it, man. It's a utility now. Use it to better your sales, to better, your image. If you're a Dixon Eaton employee, use it, in all its impact. Because if you look at the utilities of water, electricity, the web, I think it's right there. I think it's one of the top 3, 4 utilities that we have to have and have access to.
Hi, Mike Callahan from Angstrom Graphics.
From Graphics?
Angstrom Graphics here in
Okay.
Cleveland. You mentioned wearables as being something big for the future.
Yeah.
Where do you see a second screen experience or augmented reality? You see it as being something that's going to fall to the wayside like QR codes did, or are we going to adopt it the way that some other countries overseas have?
I'm a big believer, I mean, the virtual reality stuff's sort of interesting, and like, I don't know, does the Hopkins have the woman that talks to you in the line? Oh, they don't have that yet? It's very disconcerting the first time you see the virtual reality. There's literally just, and it looks like she's real, but she's not. And it's a light shining down, and she's giving you instructions on TSA pre-check at Logan, at JFK, I think Heathrow, kind of thing. So sure, I don't know if the Starbucks, if the barista is going to become that, but I think what's going to happen is there's going to be screens everywhere. So you might carry a device, but you'll be using multiple screens. You might share a screen here, screen there. There's going to be screens everywhere in your car, on your, these watch wearables. Maybe it'll be a Google Glass. So I think it'll be screens everywhere, and they'll all be synchronized, where you have access to your information in the cloud, and it'll come on any screen. You don't even have to own the screen, all right, to get that. So I think that's one thing that'll happen. Where wearables are going to explode is it's not going to be coming from the computer companies. Example, Samsung's going to announce soon the opening of a software environment for healthcare wearables. So they're going to help companies like a Nike or a Kaiser or a Johnson & Johnson with the software that goes in, one wearable that takes all your vital sign. Instead of setting that to have 5 wires in you, you have one wearable that takes all your vital signs. You're having a heart attack. It goes immediately and sends a message to your nurse, doctor, the emergency squad, and also sends up instructions on what to do, how to lay down, where to go. This is all going to happen in a matter of seconds. All right, and you're going to see an explosion once this stuff starts to happen. All right, I mean, you can imagine it's not all going to be wearables like this. It might be something in your shoe. It might be something in your jacket, all right? Patagonia is experimenting with the sensors, all right, in your jacket that they sense what temperature it is, and it makes the jacket cooler if it's hot, and it makes the jacket hotter if it's cool. So you start to, and a sensor like that is now down to 10 cents. So you start seeing technology and innovations like that, and you know, if you're a comedian, I could see this as just great new fodder, though, because if any of this stuff goes wrong, right, you know, it's terrific. But you see the point of where a lot of the wearables, I think health and mobile health is going to be huge for wearables, and wellness is going to be big, you know, on, you know, what is my body fat, and, you know, and did my heartbeat go up to the right rate and stay at that rate during this workout, and, you know, all that kind of stuff is going to be extremely important. All right, so I think wearables are going to be big. Again, not revolutionary, because the technology's been around a long time. It's all this sort of how to mix it together and make it work sort of together. And it doesn't all have to be a watch-looking thing, you know, I don't think. I think it'll be, I mean, it'll be a little weird for a while. It's like remember when Bluetooth first came out? It was the weirdest thing walking in airports, because all these sales guys especially had bought the Bluetooth ear thing, and all of a sudden I get off the plane in San Francisco, and I'm like noticing there's all these people walking around like talking to themselves, you know, and like, and they were all on the phone, but it was like, it was just a social getting used to that all these people were going to be just sort of walking around talking to somebody, you know, kind of thing. So, you know, using the wearables and where it's going, I think is an exciting kind of time. The other exciting thing is watching, at least, I don't know what Case is doing or some of the universities around here, but to see at Stanford and MIT, companies being started around wearables that solve a problem but also make money. So these are kids that are trying to change the world a bit, but also they want to make money. So, you know, these are things like nutrition bands for sub-Saharan Africa, or malaria detectors, or you know, things like that. So I think it's very cool. Yep.
Hi, I'm Sandra Galucci-Mort with Omni Media.
From where media?
Omni Media.
Omni Media.
Yes.
So you're everywhere, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No. Wanted to ask about security. I know
Yep.
that that's a big issue with a lot of consumers, where they don't feel comfortable sharing their information, especially with Target's big data breach. So how do we convince consumers and even the general public that it is safe, and how do we control those measures so that it is safe when we're sharing our personal information?
Well, I have to answer it with the negative first. Like the old axiom goes, I think, is that, you know, you can have your house protected as much as you can, but sometimes if somebody's really good at getting in to the house, they're going to get into the house. So I think what we need is a second layer of trust. I think you have to have a first layer that all the security software, we're trying, you know, but sometimes you can't keep up one step ahead of the hackers. All right, so what you have to do is have this second level of trust, which is like the credit card companies. Nothing, you will have to pay for nothing, don't worry. You don't have to call us within 24 hours, you know, so that at least there's this second layer that you don't have to worry, you know, if something is, the security is breached in that. Now, the second part of your question, I'm just going to take liberty to talk about privacy for 1 second, because I think there's a big movement in the use of technologies, software technologies, where you will own your own data and you'll choose who to send that data to. If you want to allow Nordstrom's to have it or Macy's to have certain data, you will allow that to happen. And we're seeing that increasingly more and more, so that it's like the bank doesn't own your money, right? But you put it in there, all right? So it's the same thing going to be with your personal data. I'm going to choose which cloud and which places I want to put that kind of personal data. So, and I believe that I might not get to this book because it's probably way too out in the future, but I think the post-marketing era is about transparency, and it's going to be just about, look, I want to like this company before I buy something. And so everything's going to have to be open. You're going to have to work to protect people's privacy. You give us the data you want, and we'll help organize the loyalty programs. By the way, I didn't talk anything about digital loyalty. Huge. If I had a kid wanting to get into marketing, digital loyalty and couponing is going to be huge. So Columbus, Ohio is big in the traditional couponing. I wonder if they're going to digitize that kind of stuff. But anyway, so that's what I would answer you on the privacy and the security thing. But you know, there's always going to be Edward Snowden's, you know, who's more of an egomaniac than probably a good hacker. But oh, 2 more questions. Sorry, I'm only allowed to take 2. Wait, you already asked one.
I know, but I'm asking on behalf of the AF Twitter accounts.
Okay. All right.
Here's another one that came from @Jasmine with an S. She asks, what do corporate brands fear most when it comes to internal use of social media? How can social win?
Well, I think the biggest thing brands should be afraid of is like what happened, you know, to JetBlue many years ago when they kept people on the tarmac for 8 hours. You know, it's like, how stupid can you be? Of course people are going to be going, I'm never going on this airline again, and, you know, kind of thing. So I think actually the management of social media is going to start to go under in brands, is going to go under the CMO. It already is, but also, believe it or not, I think customer service is going to come into the chief marketing officer's domain. And we talk about that a little bit in the book because that's been out of our domain, right? Customer service was always how to fix your washing machine. And you're talking, but now, if that washing machine breaks after 2 days and that mother's tweeting because she can't get the diapers, you know, or the whatever she's doing, you know, clean, then that's bad on Whirlpool. And so I think you're going to see customer service and that kind of social communication all become part of marketing and staying close to your customer. And that's the real danger around social media for brands, is not the brands not doing their job. And I think that's a good thing. I think they should be held accountable by their customers. I mean, why not? If the car doesn't work, hello, you know, fix it. You know, so.
Right here. Devin Cathcart with Goldfarb Weber. With
I heard
regards,
that's a good firm.
Yeah, it's a great firm. So with regards to the visualization of digital and social, does this mean there's sort of the writing on the wall for the Twitters of the world who were built as an organization around 140 characters? Mm-hmm. Is that why we're seeing Twitter trying to figure out how to integrate photo and video into your content stream?
Yeah, and they've got to move fast to integrate that. 2 things Twitter has to do to stay relevant is integrating the video experience, right? And second is they've got to figure out a way not to just be another broadcaster. Because in a way, that's what they are. When Jay-Z and Beyonce and everybody took them on, it doesn't matter what comes back, right? It's just that they wanted to get something out. And we don't live in a broadcast world anymore. We live in an engagement world. So if Twitter's going to survive, they're going to have to figure out how to be a broader, you know, engager. I actually would look at, if you guys probably don't have enough time, but I would look at, and this is probably heretical to say, but the Chinese social media model is pretty compelling, where they've integrated their Twitter with chat, with their Facebook, you know, Weibo and Tencent, these companies, you know, and so you don't have these separate sort of go on my Facebook, tweet, go on LinkedIn, you know, Instagram, all this. This is all just one thing, you know.
Regular Joe consumer using something like a Hootsuite that talks to
Yes, yes. Yeah, in fact, there's a new company now called Reel, R-E-E-L, you should look at, that's doing sort of, it's what Twitter should have been. It's multi-screen, common video production with a group, you know, that is doing that. Is no more?
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Let's have a hand for Larry.
Thank you so much, Larry. It's wealth of information of where the digital age is going. Let's give him another hand.